The restaurant glowed with warm golden lights, casting a romantic hue over the neatly arranged tables. Soft music played in the background, blending with the gentle clinking of glasses and quiet laughter of couples lost in love. Among them sat Emily, her fingers nervously tracing the edges of a small, carefully wrapped gift box. She had been waiting for this night for weeks. Valentine's Day, the evening she and Ryan had planned to celebrate together. She glanced at her phone. 7 p.m, right on time. A small smile tugged at the corners of her lips as she imagined Ryan walking through the doors any moment now, holding a bouquet of roses, flashing that charming grin of his. She'd spent hours getting ready, picking the perfect dress, styling her hair just the way he liked. Tonight was supposed to be special. Minutes passed, then half an hour. The waiter approached with a polite smile, offering to refill her water. "Still waiting?" he asked casually. Emily nodded, forcing a small smile, pretending she wasn't worried. Ryan had never been the type to keep her waiting. If anything, he was always the one teasing her about taking too long to get ready. Maybe traffic was bad, or he had stopped to pick up something for her. She tapped out a quick text. "Hey, are you on your way?" No response. Her fingers hovered over the screen before she called him. Straight to voicemail. Something felt off. Ryan never ignored her calls, especially not on a night like this. Her heart knocked against her chest, but she pushed the feeling away. There had to be an explanation. Maybe his phone had died. Maybe he was just running late. 7:45 p.m. Emily scrolled through her past messages, reading the sweet texts they had exchanged that morning. "Can't wait to see you tonight, Em. I have something really special planned for us." His words made her chest tighten. What could have changed in just a few hours? Her best friend, Olivia, sent a message. "So, how's your romantic night going? Did he surprise you yet?" Emily hesitated before replying. "Still waiting. I can't reach him." 3 dots appeared, then disappeared, then appeared again. Finally, a message popped up. "Wait, I thought I saw him earlier. Are you sure he's not around?" Emily's fingers froze over the screen. What did Olivia mean? Where had she seen him? The night suddenly felt heavier. The restaurant, once filled with warmth, now seemed suffocating. Emily's excitement had turned into confusion. Where was Ryan? Emily's fingers trembled slightly as she typed her next message. "Where did you see him?" She stared at the screen, waiting. The reply came almost instantly. "I swear I saw him near Willow Street. He was driving, but he wasn't alone." Her stomach twisted. Willow Street was nowhere near their planned dinner spot. And not alone? What did that mean? Olivia didn't offer more details, and Emily wasn't sure if she wanted to ask. A cold shiver ran down her spine. She glanced around the restaurant at the happy couples clinking glasses, sharing soft kisses, exchanging gifts. 8 p.m. Almost an hour had passed. Still no call, no message. She grabbed her phone and called him again. Voicemail. Her heart pounded. Maybe there was a mistake. Maybe Olivia was wrong. Maybe her phone buzzed an unknown number. She hesitated, a strange uneasiness creeping up her spine. Slowly she swiped to answer. "Hello?" Her voice came out smaller than she intended. There was silence on the other end. Just the faint sound of someone breathing. "Ryan?" she asked, gripping the edge of the table. A pause. Then a low voice, one she didn't recognize. "Emily, I need to tell you something about Ryan." Her breath caught in her throat. The room around her blurred, the laughter and music fading into the background. "Who is this?" she demanded, her fingers tightening around her phone. The voice hesitated. "Just listen. He's not who you think he is." Emily's pulse pounded in her ears. "What do you mean?" A deep sigh. "You need to leave. Right now. Her body went cold. What? Why? Where is Ryan? The line clicked and the call ended. Emily sat frozen, her heart hammering against her ribs. The tiny gift box on the table suddenly felt heavier. She looked around, half expecting Ryan to walk in and tell her it was all some elaborate joke. But deep down, she knew something was wrong. Something very, very wrong. Emily's hands trembled as she stared at her phone screen. The call had ended so abruptly that it felt unreal, like a scene from a bad thriller movie. But this wasn't a movie. This was happening to her right now. She swallowed hard, her throat dry. The stranger's voice echoed in her head. He's not who you think he is. Her mind raced through every possible explanation. Was this some kind of prank? Had Ryan's phone been stolen? Or was there something she didn't know about him? Her phone buzzed again. A message from Olivia. I don't want to freak you out, but I just checked again. That wasn't a random car I saw, it was Ryan's. And he was with a woman. Emily's breath hitched. A woman? A sharp pain twisted in her chest. Number that couldn't be right. Ryan wouldn't do this. He loved her. He had planned something special for tonight. He wouldn't just disappear. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard, unsure of what to say. Then another message popped up. They were pulling into some house. I didn't recognize it. Emily felt like the air had been sucked out of her lungs. A house? Why would Ryan be at some house, on their night, with someone else? Her heart pounded as a terrifying thought took hold. What if the call and Olivia's message were connected? What if she had been waiting all this time while Ryan was with someone else? Her stomach churned. She needed answers. Now, without thinking, she grabbed her purse, pushed back her chair, and walked out of the restaurant. The waiter called after her, but she didn't stop. Her fingers clutched her phone tightly as she pulled up Olivia's number. "Send me the address," she said the moment Olivia picked up. There was silence on the other end. Then Olivia sighed. Are you sure? Maybe you should just wait for him to explain." "I've waited long enough," Emily cut in, her voice sharper than she expected. "Just send it." A few seconds later, her phone buzzed. The location popped up on her screen. Willow Street. Emily exhaled shakily. She had no idea what she was about to walk into, but one thing was certain. Ryan had some explaining to do. Emily's heart pounded as she drove through the dimly lit streets, her grip on the steering wheel tightening with every passing second. The small wrapped gift box sat untouched on the passenger seat, mocking her. Just an hour ago, she'd been filled with excitement, picturing Ryan's face when she handed it to him. Now, all she could picture was him with another woman. Her mind raced through every possibility. Maybe Olivia was mistaken. Maybe there was a perfectly reasonable explanation. Maybe Ryan had planned a surprise, and this was all a misunderstanding. But then, what about the call? That voice? He's not who you think he is. A chill ran down her spine. The location Olivia sent her led to a quiet neighborhood lined with tall trees and beautiful homes. It was the kind of place where families lived, where everything seemed peaceful, except for the storm brewing inside Emily. She slowed as she neared the address, her stomach twisting into knots. Ryan's car was parked in the driveway of a house she had never seen before. It was him. No doubt about it. The headlights of her car illuminated the sleek black vehicle. Her fingers clenched into fists. Why is he here? She parked down the street, far enough to avoid being noticed. Her heart pounded in her ears as she stepped out, her heels clicking softly against the pavement. A single light was on inside the house. Through the slightly parted curtains, she could see shadows moving. Her breath caught when she recognized one of them. Ryan. He stood near the window, facing someone. A woman. Emily's body went cold. The woman stepped closer. She was smiling, too close, too comfortable. Emily's fingers curled around her phone, debating whether to call him, to demand an explanation right now. But something told her to wait, to watch. Then, before she could blink, Ryan did something that made her stomach drop. He reached out and pulled the woman into a slow, lingering embrace. Emily felt like the ground had been ripped from beneath her. Her chest tightened. Her breath came in sharp, uneven gasps. This wasn't just a friendly hug. This was something else. Something that shattered everything she believed about him. Her hands trembled as she lifted her phone. Without thinking, she snapped a picture. Proof. Proof that the man she loved, the man who had promised her the world, had been lying all along. She stood there, frozen, watching the life she thought she had slipped right through her fingers. But then, just as she turned to leave, something strange happened. Ryan suddenly pulled away from the woman and glanced toward the window. His eyes locked onto hers. A flicker of something, shock, fear, panic, crossed his face. And in that moment, Emily realized something even more unsettling. He wasn't just caught. He had been hiding something much, much bigger. Emily's breath hitched as Ryan's expression shifted from shock to something she couldn't quite place. Fear? Guilt? Panic? Whatever it was, it sent a cold shiver down her spine. For a moment, neither of them moved. It was as if time had frozen between them, trapping them in a silent conversation filled with unanswered questions and buried truths. The woman beside Ryan turned her head, confused by his sudden stiffness. Emily couldn't see her face clearly, but she noticed how Ryan subtly stepped in front of her, as if shielding her from view. That single movement made Emily's stomach twist even tighter. Who was she? Why was he protecting her? Her first instinct was to storm up to the door, to demand an explanation, to make him say out loud what she already feared. But something about his reaction made her hesitate. This wasn't just a simple betrayal. It was something more. Her phone buzzed in her hand, snapping her out of her daze. Olivia. She answered without taking her eyes off Ryan. Liv. Her voice was barely a whisper. Emily, listen to me. You need to leave. Now. Emily's pulse spiked. What? Why? I did some digging. That house. It's not just some random place. It belongs to someone named Claire Reynolds. Emily. That's his ex. The world tilted. Ex? And that's not even the worst part, Olivia continued, her voice dropping lower. They broke up 2 years ago because she disappeared. No one ever saw her again. Emily felt like all the air had been sucked out of her lungs. Her eyes snapped back to the woman inside the house. Claire? Disappeared? How was that possible? She was standing right there. Then, as if feeling Emily's stare, the woman stepped forward into the light. Emily's blood ran cold. The woman did look familiar, but not in the way Emily expected. Somewhere, buried deep in her memory, she had seen that face before. Her grip on the phone tightened. This wasn't just about Ryan cheating. This was something else, something dangerous. And as Ryan took a slow, deliberate step toward the door, toward her, Emily's body screamed at her to run. Emily's breath came in shallow gasps as Ryan took another step toward the door. His face was unreadable, but there was something in his eyes, something dark, something she did not recognize. She took an instinctive step back, her heart hammering against her ribs. Her mind was racing, trying to process what Olivia had just told her. Claire Reynolds, the ex-girlfriend who had disappeared. But Claire was here, alive. So why did everyone think she was gone? Her phone was still pressed to her ear. Olivia, she whispered, forcing herself to stay calm. Are you sure? Maybe they just lost touch. Maybe she... No, listen to me, Olivia cut her off, urgency thick in her voice. I found an old police report. Claire went missing after their breakup. Ryan told everyone she left town, but her family never believed it. There were rumours that something happened to her, that she never really left. Emily's stomach dropped. She felt sick. She turned her eyes back toward the window. Claire was standing near Ryan now, saying something to him, her expression calm. Too calm. Like she had no idea the world thought she had vanished. Emily's hands were shaking. This was wrong. All of it. Then, before she could think, the front door creaked open. Ryan stood in the doorway, his eyes locked onto hers. The warm, charming smile she knew so well was gone. In its place was something else, something unsettling. Emily, he said, his voice smooth but forced. What are you doing here? Her breath caught in her throat. Lies, deception, secrets. They all swirled around her, suffocating her. Her fingers clenched around her phone. She needed to get out of here. But Ryan took another step forward. His eyes flicked to her car, then back to her. You've been following me? A slow, uneasy smirk formed on his lips, as if he found the idea amusing. Emily took another step back. I was waiting for you, she said, her voice unsteady. At the restaurant. Remember? Ryan's smile faltered for a fraction of a second. Then, just as quickly, it returned. Right, I got caught up. His tone was casual, but his body language told a different story. He was blocking the entrance now, standing in a way that made it clear he didn't want her coming closer. Behind him, Claire appeared in the doorway. She looked at Emily with mild curiosity, tilting her head slightly. Then she did something that made Emily's blood run cold. She reached out and gently placed a hand on Ryan's arm. Affectionate, familiar, comfortable, like she had done it 1,000 times before. Emily swallowed hard. She had come here for answers, but now she had even more questions. Was Claire here by choice? Or was she trapped in a lie, just like Emily had been? Ryan took another step toward her, his voice lower now. Why don't we talk inside? Every instinct in Emily's body screamed at her to run. Emily forced a tight smile, her entire body screaming at her to stay calm. Think. Don't panic. Ryan stood in the doorway, watching her too closely, his smile never quite reaching his eyes. Behind him, Claire lingered just out of reach, her expression unreadable. Emily's heart pounded as she took a slow, deliberate step backward. Actually, I can't stay. I wanted to check on you, since you never showed up. Ryan didn't move. He was studying her now, as if trying to decide if she was telling the truth. That's sweet of you, he said smoothly, but there was something calculated in his tone. But it's late. Why don't you come inside for a minute? We can talk. Every alarm in Emily's head went off at once. Number. She forced a casual laugh, gripping her phone tightly. Another time. I just wanted to make sure you were okay. She turned slightly, making it seem like she was about to leave, hoping he wouldn't push further. But then, just as she moved, she saw Claire's expression change. It was small, a flicker of something in her eyes. A warning. Emily barely had time to register it before Claire suddenly spoke. Ryan, can you grab me a drink? Ryan hesitated. Now? Claire smiled softly. Yeah, please. Emily didn't understand what was happening, but the moment Ryan turned his back to step inside, Claire's gaze snapped to Emily's. And then, so quick that Emily almost missed it, Claire mouthed 2 words. Run. Now. Emily's breath caught in her throat. What? Claire's expression stayed neutral, but her eyes were urgent. Emily's blood turned to ice. This wasn't just about cheating. This was bigger. She had seconds to decide. Ryan would be back any moment. Emily forced herself to take a step away. Then another. And then, without looking back, she turned and walked. Fast. She could hear her heartbeat in her ears. The air felt too thick. The shadows of the quiet street stretched long and eerie in the dim glow of the streetlights. She reached her car, her hands fumbling as she yanked open the door. But just as she slid inside and locked it, a figure appeared in the rearview mirror. Ryan, standing at the edge of the driveway, watching her. His face was unreadable, but his stance, his stillness, terrified her. Emily's fingers shook as she turned the key in the ignition. And just as the engine roared to life, Ryan did something that made her stomach drop. He smiled, slow, amused, unbothered, like he already knew something she didn't. Emily didn't wait to find out what it was. She slammed her foot on the gas and sped into the night. Emily's hands were clammy against the steering wheel as she sped down the darkened streets, her pulse hammering so loudly she could barely hear her own thoughts. She kept glancing in the rearview mirror, expecting to see Ryan's car following her. But the road behind her remained empty. Yet, somehow, that was even worse. Why did he just stand there? Why did he smile like that, like he already knew how this was going to end? Her mind was spinning, replaying everything in sharp, fragmented flashes. Claire mouthing, "Run." Olivia's voice trembling over the phone, the police report. She needed answers. Now she reached for her phone, her fingers shaking as she hit Olivia's contact. It rang twice before Olivia picked up. "Emily? Are you okay?" Emily swallowed hard, her throat dry. "I don't know, She exhaled sharply, gripping the wheel tighter. "Claire saw me. She told me to run, Liv. She told me to run." There was silence on the other end. Then Olivia whispered, "Oh my God." Emily's stomach twisted. "Liv, what if she never disappeared? What if she was—" She hesitated, the words feeling too terrifying to say out loud. "What if she was kept there?" Olivia finished, her voice barely above a breath. Emily's grip on the steering wheel tightened until her knuckles turned white. "Liv, I have to go to the police." "Wait," Olivia said suddenly. "There's something else you need to know. I kept digging after we hung up, and I found something." Emily's heart pounded. "What?" "It's not just Claire." The words hit Emily like ice water. "There were others, Emily." A sharp, hollow feeling opened in her chest. 2 other girls. Both dated Ryan, both vanished, just gone. No trace, no family ever got closure. And now, Claire, Olivia's voice shook. What if she's next? Emily's entire body went cold. And Emily! Olivia's voice was barely a whisper now. If Claire's still alive, and he kept her hidden all this time. The realization slammed into Emily like a freight train. She had been waiting for Ryan tonight, but what if he had been waiting for her too? Her breath came in quick, shallow gasps. Ryan knew she had followed him. He let her see him with Claire. And when she left, he didn't chase after her. Because he didn't need to. That smile, that terrifying, knowing smile. Like he wasn't worried at all. Like it was already too late. Emily's blood ran cold. She swallowed, forcing her voice to stay steady. Liv, I think I need to get out of town. She could hear Olivia scrambling on the other end of the call. Come to my place first. We'll figure this out. Emily nodded to herself, pressing harder on the gas. Okay, I'm on my way. But as she turned onto the freeway, something on her dashboard caught her eye. A small, blinking light. A tracking device. Her stomach dropped. Ryan knew exactly where she was.